Welcome to Quality Branding Hub. The channel is for the quality control engineer, site engineer, and the civil engineer who are working in the construction field. In this channel, we are dealing with anything and everything which is required to get success in the construction. Today also I am going to discuss about a very important topics of the construction, and that is the gypsum plaster. Now, all we know that we are using the cement plaster, cement, sand, and water mix, but there are other type of plaster also, that is called the gypsum plaster. Now, what is gypsum plaster, what is the IS code for that, and what is the physical and chemical requirement of the gypsum plaster, and what is the uses, and what is the ratio, and how to use that one, and what is the application process. In today's video, I will discuss each and everything in details. So stay tuned until the end to get the full information about the gypsum plaster. And if you are new in my channel, kindly subscribe my channel and hit the bell icon so that whenever I upload a new video, you will get immediate notification. So without wasting time, let's jump into the subject, that is the gypsum plaster. Now, first we need to know what is gypsum plaster. Now, what is gypsum? Gypsum plaster is hydrated sulfate or calcium. Now, it's the calcium, the hydrated one, that what is the water that should be evaporated, used for internal wall, ceiling, and plastering water. How it is manufactured? It is obtained by heating gypsum. Now, what is it? Gypsum? Gypsum is CaSO4 2H2O, that calcium sulfate with 2 molecules of water, to remove part of its water of crystallization. So what we are heating them, it's part of the water is removing and it become a crystalline form, and then mixing it again with water form a workable paste, that is called the gypsum. So in short, gypsum is calcium sulfate into 2 molecules of water, and we are heating in the manufacturing plant, and when you are manufacturing, this part of water is removing and it is form a crystallization, and this gets called the gypsum. And when again we are adding water into the side and apply on the plaster, apply on the surface for the internal wall and the ceiling, that called the gypsum plaster. Now, what is the chemical reaction? This is the chemical reaction, that is 2CaSO4 2H2O, that when are heating it become 2 CaSO4 whole is 2 H2O plus 3 H2O to CaSO4 4, so 2 H2O. Then this is the complete chain reaction, and after that it comes to the form of a crystallization and it's become a gypsum. And setting process and rehydrates of the gypsum, that means whenever we are setting this one, it's become the gypsum. So heating process from plaster of Paris. Now this plaster of Paris, whenever adding into the water, it's again form this homogeneous paste, and we are applying on the surface for the plastering work. Now, what is the relevant IS code? That relevant IS code is IS 2547 part 1 part 2, that's the gypsum building plaster specification of test method. And IS 1288, that's method of test for mineral gypsum. IS 1727 test for pozzolanic material. 8272 guide for plastering and pointing on walls. So these are all the codes we need to follow whenever we are dealing with the gypsum plaster, because whenever the material is coming, you need to finalize whether this gypsum is adequate or not, or whether it is as per the as per as code or not, that you need to check. Now in 2547 part 1, it's given clearly that what is the requirement, what is the physical requirement, and what is the chemical requirement. But before that, in the classification, in the clause number 3, that in the clause number 3, before that, I just to mention that this code is IS 2547 part 6, but reaffirmed in 2022. Now, from where we will get the IS code? It is always from the BIS, so that is Bureau of Indian Standard website, that you will go that one and you will make a free account and you can download as much as you can. So go there and make a free account and download the code only from the BIS website, for no one else. But no, from internet don't download any code, because the BIS is always upgrading the code and they are releasing the amendment. If you are downloading from other sources, maybe you will get the one which is already obsolete or the amendment has been done. So that is why you need to download from the sources, that is BI's website. So this is 2547, and in 2547 here in the clause number 3, it's divided in 4 gypsum plaster. There are 4 categories. So what is the categories? First is plaster of Paris. That is for the rendering purpose over the plaster surface. All we know that before painting is that retarded hemihydrate gypsum plaster that we are using, we are discussing today here. This type of plaster only, that is a gypsum plaster, and there are 2 types, that is a type 1 and type 2. That's type 1 is undercoat, that is a browning plaster and metal earthing plaster, and type 2 is also, this is the final coat plaster, that is a finish plaster and broad finish plaster. So these are the retarded hemihydrate gypsum plaster. That is a gypsum plaster we are commonly used into the site, and today also I am discussing these 2. And another 2 types of gypsum plaster is anhydrous gypsum plaster, that is for finishing only, and the cleans plaster, that is also finishing only, and I will discuss in later in another video in these 2, but today is only about the gypsum plaster. Now I will know that there are gypsum plaster type 1 and type 2, but what is the physical and chemical reaction? Here it is in the chemical reaction given in the table 1 in the clause 4. Whenever you go to the IS code 2547, you can check that the chemical requirement is given in the table 1 clause 4.1. Now what is the here is, you can see the plaster of Paris, retarded hemihydrate gypsum plaster, anhydrous plaster and the Keynes plaster, but today I will only check what is the requirement for the gypsum plaster, not for the finishing purpose. In other video I will discuss things. First is will be the what is the SO3 percentage by mass. That is, it's saying minimum is 35%. So SO3 should be minimum 35%. So whenever you are receiving the MTC or whenever you are sending into the lab for the testing, you check whether it's confirming or not. Then calcium oxide percentage minimum, then 2/3 of SO3. So what will be the percentage of 2 SO3? Minimum is 2/3 percentage of SO3 should be, Ca should be there in the plaster. Then soluble magnesium salt expressed as percentage of MgO. What is the maximum percentage? That is 0.3. Then soluble sodium salt expressed as percentage of Na2O, that is also, you can see here it is NO 0.3 is the maximum. And then loss of ignition percentage by mass, this not greater than 9 and not less than 4. So in between 4 to 9. And this free lime, that is 3%. So these are the requirement of the chemical composition of the gypsum whatever we are using for the plaster. These are the chemical requirement from where we are getting, that is 2547 table 1 clause 4.1. Now what is the physical requirement? Here you can see in the table 2 is a physical requirement, but whenever I spoke about the amendment, you need to check is there is any amendment or not. Here there is a amendment, you can see. That is why I am saying always download from the sources of the BI's website, not from any other. Here it is saying the amendment 2 in December 1995 that substitute the following for the existing table. That means they are replacing the table 2. So we need to check this table. Now what is this table? See here it is saying plaster of Paris type 1 type 2 anhydrous gypsum plaster. We need to check this one. So setting time in the plaster, here it is saying 20 to 360. So neat plaster, it is the 20 to minimum setting time and 360 is the maximum. Here is the transverse strength, it's not mentioned. The soundness, it is very much important to know about the soundness. Now what is the soundness? Its categories anhydrous gypsum plaster. Set plaster parts shall not show any sign of this integration, propping, pitting. So it is saying that is no showing. Then mechanical resistance of set in plaster, that is diameter of the indication shall and not be more than 4 mm. So you need to check whenever you are receiving the gypsum from the factory, you need to check that one. Then residues of 90 mm sieve percentage, 2% is the maximum. That also you need to check. You need to do the sieve analysis as you are doing the sieve analysis for the sand, that you need to do the sieve analysis of the gypsum also when you are receiving. So 90 mm micron, maximum is 2, and expansion and setting percent is not given. So this is about the physical and chemical requirement as per IS 2547 of gypsum plaster. There are 4 types, but we are not discussing all. The 2 days is only about the gypsum plaster. Now, what is the recommendation ratio and the thickness? That is very much important. Whenever it is coming, how much water we will adding. So generally it will come in the pre-mix bag form. Now you don't need to anything here in the side, only water. So you need to add only water. So that different manufacturer is there, and as per the manufacturer recommendation we need to play. So what are the manufacturer recommendation? So that we need to add the water as per their requirement. Generally what is the requirement? 100 parts of plaster and 60 to 70 parts of clean water. But again check the manufacturer requirement, the recommendation. So what is the thickness? Thickness is for the plaster in the wall, this is 10 to 12 mm, and the ceiling 6 to 8 mm. If it is a 2 coat of thick plaster, 60 to 20 mm in total, and the minimum thickness not less than 60 mm, and do not exceed 20 mm one coat as it leads to cracking. So if it is required more than 20 mm, you need to check with your structural engineer that how you can do one, but don't make it in a one coat, otherwise it will peel off. So these are the thickness requirement. And what is the application process? First you need to do the surface preparation, because for any work surface preparation is the key. So first ensure RCC or masonry surface is clean, dust free and damp free. This is very much important, that you need to check the moisture content, that if the moisture content is more, do not apply the gypsum on the surface. So what is the recommendation? It's around 8%, but sometimes it also go to 12%, but you need to check what is the moisture content. Then remove loose particles, oil, curing compound or efflorescence. So you need to check if there is an efflorescence, do not use the gypsum. Then for RCC, applying a bonding agent. So here is also that if it is RCC, you need to make the bonding agent. And for the plastering accessories, whether it is fixed or not, that is also you need to check. Then mixing, whenever the surface is ready, you need to mix. Use a clean plastic bucket and mechanical mixer. Now it is important that you need to mix with a mechanical mixer, not with the hand mixing. And with the recommendation ratio, we need to add the water into the mix, and use the mix within 15 to 20 minutes or as per the initial setting time as per the manufacturer guidelines. And application, apply a plaster with a steel trowel in even thickness, label with aluminium straight edge. Do not retemper the material after initial setting. So within the initial setting you need to apply the gypsum plaster and you need to complete the work. And finishing, final finishing with a trowel or the sponge after 10 to 15 minutes. No water curing is required. That is a main advantage of gypsum plaster, that is you don't need any water curing. In the cement plaster, the water curing is important, otherwise the cracks will generate. But in the gypsum plaster, no water curing is required. And what is the application areas? Internal wall as ceilings, partition and the false ceiling. Drywall systems, nowadays there is a drywall system is implementing. In the drywall, it is very much essential and very much effective. Then the renovation work and the decorative work, where the cement plaster you cannot do the decorative one. For the gypsum you can easily make it one. And what is the quality checkpoint? You the material certificate. First you need to check material certificate as per the IS 2547, or else you need to send to the laboratory for the test or the third party test. You need to check that one. Then setting time test, fine net test, that it should not pass more than 2% in 90 micron sieves are already shown. That also you need to check. Then the bonding on RCT, that is the pull-up test. That pull-up test also you need to check. And the surface finish with the straight edge, that you need to check. Then crack observation, you need to check whether the cracks is generating or not. Thickness measurement, that is also important. And the moisture check. Finally, before the painting work, you need to check the moisture level also. Now, what is the advantages of the gypsum plaster? I will say this is a fast setting, no curing compound required, smooth finish, lightweight, thermal and acoustic insulation, that is important also. Then fire resistance and the crack resistance, and that is also disadvantage. Every coin has the two sides, and unsuitable for the external, it is we cannot use for the external per use. Limited thickness application, first setting, that is not working condition. If it is there, no, is not the suitable, we cannot use that. The storage sensitivity and the cost, it's a high of the gypsum plaster. So these are all about the gypsum plaster, and I hope you find it useful. And if you find it useful, kindly subscribe my channel and hit the bell icon, so that whenever I upload a new video, you will get immediate notification. And I'm waiting for your valuable comments, so that from your valuable comment everybody will be benefited. And if you want to know anything more about quality control and construction, please let me know. I will come with more content like this. And thank you once again for watching me.